24 hours after launch, here's what's going on. The day has come, and it has gone. Well, yesterday, about 24 hours ago, Microsoft officially released the Xbox Series X and S to many parts around the globe, and I'm not going to retire, but this is my old trusty Xbox One X that I had been playing a lot of gaming with, and it has finally moved into the office here, away from my TV. And yeah, it's a little bit of a sad moment, but a little bit of an awesome moment. And tomorrow I will have a video up doing like first initial 24-hour impression, but I haven't even had my console for 24 hours, and so it wouldn't be fair to do 24 hours before, well, 24 hours has happened. But there have certainly been some challenges across the globe, and also some complete and utter crap that is floating around, and it's just kind of muddying up like what is legit and what isn't legit. So keep in mind that for the vast majority of people who got their consoles yesterday, everything went completely smooth. Everything did. But that's not to say that there aren't some outliers. I mean, when you're shipping what we assume are at least, a million consoles, if not more, in a single day, there's going to be problems even at a very small percentage because they're manufactured goods, and manufactured items have issues. There's just no way around it. Cars have problems. Consoles have problems. Well, I have problems. I mean, what are we even talking about? Anyways, so the first one that sort of popped up was just quite literally logistics. Depending on where you were and who was delivering your product, some people just didn't get their consoles on the day that they were expected to get it. Seemed to be some issue with Canada, where crossing the border and things like that, it was actually scheduled for 2 to 4 day delivery window instead of a 2 day delivery window. And so if you were in Canada, you may have had potentially some issues getting your console. There was also some, I believe, other issues in European countries, but that's just logistics, and that's going to happen, and it's always going to impact somebody no matter how good your plans are. So there was also a bigger logistical challenge, and this one comes from Amazon. Amazon, in my opinion, sort of dropped the ball here. By sort of, I mean they absolutely did. So I ordered 2 consoles initially on the day of pre-order, September 22nd. I ordered one from the Microsoft store right away, and that is the one that I got yesterday. And then I also ordered one like 5 minutes later from Amazon because I effectively want 2 consoles, but I was going to give one to my neighbor because he wanted one too. Anyways, aside from that point, the Amazon one has not shown up, and I don't know when it's going to show up. And Amazon actually sent out an email, and if you pre-ordered a console from Amazon and it did not arrive yesterday, you need to go check your inbox for this email, because there's a link in there that if you do not click it, then your console will never come. You'll just never get charged. It'll just vanish poof into thin air. So you've got to open up your inbox, find the email, and then click that link to say, hey, I still want this console, and then you will actually be able to get the console. But we don't know exactly when. My email initially said sometime before December 31st, which isn't exactly a great thing. But anyways, so be on the lookout for that, because I think Amazon really kind of screwed up there. In my opinion, they should have just told people that, hey, your console's not going to arrive. I mean, they initially sent the email that says, hey, your console may not arrive, like 48 hours before it was expected to arrive, which is kind of terrible, because then you have no recourse of actually trying to get another console from another location unless you go stand outside a retail shop. But not everybody really wants to do that, given on what is going on in the world. The other big issue, and this one was was absolutely Microsoft's fault. Some people could not sign into Xbox Live. I don't know if it was because of the massive influx of people trying to set up new consoles. They definitely had authentication issues, and my assumption is exactly that they just had a massive influx of people setting up new consoles, trying to authenticate, trying to download all that content, and the server just tipped over. It didn't appear like it was down for all that long, and so that's why I think it was more of a scale problem than anything else, like materially, service or authentication related. It was just getting probably DDoSed by a bunch of friendly people who are just trying to log into their Xbox consoles, and so that absolutely was a real thing. There are other issues out there too, especially it seems to be related to the disk drive. Now keep in mind, again, this is a very small percentage of people who actually have consoles, but you'll see videos like this if you listen. If you hear that clicking noise can be heard by a lot of different people with different consoles. Not all Series X, it appears to be consoles So just be on the lookout for that. If you're not planning to put a disk into your drive, you might want to do it anyways just to make sure you don't have that clicking. I vaguely recall this exact issue happening with the Xbox One launch. It's just a disk drive issue, and I don't believe it impacts the performance of the console in any other way. But if you paid $500 for this thing, you don't want to have to deal with that issue. And so just be on the lookout for something like that. There's multiple videos up there, and those appear to be pretty authentic, unlike some of the other content that is now going viral across the internet, something like this. Now, there's issues of people saying, hey, look, the consoles are on fire. There's another one floating around that kind of looks like this. And so, yeah, I would not buy into that. Actually, go back to that. The only fire hazard here is actually that electrical, well, it's a looping video, so it's going to, I got to let it rewind here in a second. The only fire hazard you're going to see here is actually from, look at the power cord arrangement here. I mean, that is the thing that's going to catch on fire. I'm pretty sure that's either a vape, dry ice, or a fog machine underneath that crate that was there. And so the actual like Xbox Series X catching on fire, I believe, are complete fake. And as of right now, nothing appears to be authentic on that front. Also, more fakery. We have, is it this one? So there's a ping pong ball floating above, as it would appear, floating above an Xbox Series X. Now, technically, this is possible. I believe with Bernoulli's law is how the physics law that could make this happen. What you can do is take a ping pong ball and I believe a hairdryer, and you can actually get a ping pong ball to float in the column of hot air that is coming out of a hairdryer. That is something a lot of people probably did in physics class in high school. And so it's like, hey, you could do that on an Xbox Series X. Except you really can't. The fan on the output fan, at least on my console and other people who have got their hands on this console, it's really low. There's not enough air pressure coming out to actually do that because it takes a lot of wind to actually hold up a ping pong ball. Yes, a ping pong ball does not weigh a lot, but the fan RPM on the Xbox Series X is relatively low. And I tried several different games to see how hot or how fast I could get that to blow, especially with like Gears 5, and I could no how get enough air pressure flowing across that ping pong ball to actually make use of that principle to actually float the ping pong ball. So I believe the smoke and the ping pong ball are just memes. The smoke one is more malicious than the ping pong ball one at the end of the day. But overall, it appears like the launch went pretty smoothly. And from what it seems for the most part is that the vast majority of people, to very little surprise, ordered an Xbox Series X. There are definitely S's out there, do not get me wrong. And I'm sure that there are people listening to this because the S is a good console. If you have a 1080p TV or you don't plan on needing the maximum capacity, you just wanted a good value, the S is fine. But it very much appears like the X was the breadwinner, at least in terms of volume from the Xbox family on day one. But overall, so some Amazon, debauchery, just your usual logistic stuff. Be on the lookout for the disk drive. Do not be on the lookout for catching on fire because I do not think that is an actual issue. And I think that's people just catching on or trying to get viral memes going. And the ping pong ball appears to be the same as well. Overall, it looks like Microsoft had a pretty successful day. They did a bunch of launch events around the globe, where they put those giant Xboxes out there and then shine some projectors on them and use some laser beams. It's a pretty cool thing that they did. And so, we're day one into the next generation console launch. We'll be on the lookout for more issues that pop up, but it definitely seems like there's less issues up front than we have seen with previous generations. But at the same time, nothing is perfect, so be on the lookout to see how your Xbox performs.